Well, FX's Shogun has mostly been a power struggle between Yoshi Toranaga and Ishido Kazunari. The show has also featured many important men of power whose characters were inspired by real-life samurai warriors. The premise of Shogun began with the Council of Regents being formed by the Taiko before his demise, so that the 5 regents could equally share the administrative power of the country until his son came of age to succeed him. Although Ishido and Toranaga mostly dominated the screen with their feud, the other regents also played a key role in this power play, especially in the real-life version of these events. I'm sure you guys have noticed Lord Ohno Harunobu in Shogun. While he hasn't been a very important voice in the show, his real-life counterpart, Otani Yoshitsugu, was a very famous warrior and one of Toyotomi Hideyoshi's most important retainers. Legend has it that as the de facto ruler of Japan, Hideyoshi once said that he would trust Yoshitsugu with 1,000,000 soldiers in battle, simply because he had a distinguished vision before a battle which allowed him to analyze the terrain and predict the opposition's approach. His tales of war reverberated throughout the Sengoku period, which eventually helped him gain the seat at the council. Plus, his friendship with Ishida Mitsunari has been heroically romanticized in poetry, which is something that led to his ultimate doom. So, without wasting another second, let's talk about the life of Japan's most revered leper warlord, Otani Yoshitsugu. Before we get into our explanation though, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Otani Yoshitsugu's early life. Coming from beginnings unknown, Otani Yoshitsugu's early life is mostly a mystery, as there is little to no information available about his ancestry or origins. Yoshitsugu was born around 1558, and it is believed that his father served either Otomo Sorin of the Otomo clan or Rokaku Yoshikata. Legend has it that if Yoshitsugu is actually born under Yoshifusa, his childhood name, Keimatsu, is rooted in an interesting origin. Before his birth, Yoshifusa hoped for a son and a male heir, so his wife prayed for a boy at a shrine dedicated to Hachiman Dai Bosetsu. As she prayed, apparently a pine tree fell before her, and she ate a part of the fallen branches for good luck. So, when Yoshifusa's son was born, he named him after the plant in gratitude to the deity. Yoshitsugu's first known name, Heima, was given during his early service with Toyotomi Hideyoshi, possibly for his leadership in cavalry or his role in the siege of Miki. But the late temple records mention him as Kinosuke or Norinosuke. Some argue he was also known as Otani Gyobu, with Gyobu possibly referencing the Genji family or Yoshitsugu's higher rank. Historians believe Yoshitsugu's father could have been either Otani Yoshifusa, a retainer of Hideyoshi, or Otani Moriharu, a vassal of the Otomo family. But as both these warlords had very little documented about them beyond their names, we can't really be sure. Some records state that Yoshitsugu was born in Omi province, with his mother being a maid of Kodai-in, which eventually earned him favor with Hideyoshi. However, if Moriharu was his father, this contradicts the story, because Yoshitsugu was said to have joined Hideyoshi after leaving the Otomo family in his late 20s. Since there's limited information about both the Otani clans, the details of Yoshitsugu's first meeting with Hideyoshi still remain a mystery. But, according to other stories, Yoshitsugu was recruited by Hideyoshi at the recommendation of his friend Ishida Mitsunari when he was just 15 years old. As a Kosho, he acted as a human shield for Hideyoshi, listening to his commands on the battlefield and eventually picking up his skills in military arts, while remaining dedicated to protecting his lord at all costs. Otani Yoshitsugu's first known battle was the siege of Miki in 1578. At the time, Hideyoshi was a top general under Oda Nobunaga and was sent to seize Harima province peacefully. However, Besso Nagaharu felt insulted by Hideyoshi's authority as a commoner and resisted his rule. This led to the famous siege of Miki, where Nagaharu and his troops were starved until he chose to perform seppuku to spare his men. Later, Yoshitsugu also participated in the siege of Takamatsu in 1582, where Mori Teramoto, the grandson of the renowned warlord Mori Motonari, clashed with Oda Nobunaga as both sought to expand their territories, with Nobunaga emerging as a dominant force in the country after several decisive victories. When Toyotomi Hideyoshi besieged Takamatsu Castle, which was held by the Mori clan, the castle's defender, Shimizu Munaharu, a samurai commander, was at odds when Hideyoshi redirected a nearby river to flood the castle. He then built towers on barges for his gunmen to maintain constant fire while being shielded by the flood. With continuous rain, the rivers eventually swelled up, isolating Takamatsu Castle like an island and cutting off their food supplies for Mori's garrison forces. After realizing he had no way out without defeat, Muneharu went in all by himself to the middle of the artificial lake and performed seppuku in front of both armies. During the entire siege, Otani Yoshitsugu protected Hideyoshi by being his human shield, making sure no enemy gunmen or archers could hurt his lord. Otani Yoshitsugu's rise to power. Yoshitsugu might have started his service under Toyotomi Hideyoshi as a low-ranking kosho, or possibly becoming Mitsunari's yoriki in the late 1570s, either during his mid-teens or mid to late 20s. During this time, historical documents have given us many conflicting stories about his intelligence and charm, which had helped him to earn many important friends. While Oda Nobunaga and Otani Yoshitsugu were stuck at the Takamatsu siege, Oda Nobunaga was betrayed and killed by one of his most loyal generals, Akechi Mitsuhide, at the Honnoji incident. After hearing the news, Hideyoshi swiftly wrapped up his feud with the Mori clan and took his men along to seek revenge against Mitsuhide. While Yoshitsugu's early accomplishments with the Hashiba family still remain unclear, most sources agree that he was among the 700 or so individuals who sided with Toyotomi Hideyoshi after the incident at Honnoji, and Akechi Mitsuhide was taken down at the Battle of Yamazaki, where Yoshitsugu also fought. Now, after Mitsuhide's defeat, Nobunaga's heirs and generals were fighting for power to secure the empty seat at the top. Meanwhile, this clash led to Yoshitsugu's rise in Hideyoshi's court. Shibata Katsui, who was a senior general under Nobunaga, supported Nobunaga's son, Oda Nobutaka, and his ascension to the throne, which caused a rift between him and Hideyoshi, who was in turn allied to Oda Nobukatsu. It was this rivalry that culminated in the Battle of Shizugatake in 1583. Meanwhile, Yoshitsugu teamed up with Kado Toranosuke, Fukushima Ichimatsu, and other kosho to capture the Nagahama castle from Shibata Katsutoyo, who was Shibata Katsui's nephew. Although Otani Yoshitsugu's role in the Battle of Shizugatake is still not certain, some stories suggest he used his wit to persuade an enemy samurai to surrender before the battle. There are also other tales of the battle that portray him as a skilled warrior on the front lines, wielding his spear with finesse. As fate would have it, the battle ended with a victory for the Toyotomi faction, leading Shibata Katsui and his wife Oichi to commit seppuku inside their fortress, which was then set ablaze, consuming their remains in flames. During this period, Hideyoshi is rumored to have openly expressed his admiration towards Yoshitsugu, supposedly saying he would entrust his entire army to Yoshitsugu's prowess. What is known for certain is that Otani Yoshitsugu was appointed as a Minister of Justice in 1585, finally solidifying his position as an elite member of Toyotomi Hideyoshi's inner circle. How did Otani Yoshitsugu become the white-faced samurai? According to historical records, in September 1585, Otani Yoshitsugu and Ishida Mitsunari joined Toyotomi Hideyoshi on a relaxing trip to Erema Onsen, which is a location for natural hot springs. All three of them soaked in the same pool, and it was apparently during this time Yoshitsugu first fell ill, sparking a well-known tale about the cause of his weakness. The following year, Yoshitsugu stayed back in Osaka to personally squash a riot. He reportedly defeated almost 1,000 men, immensely pleasing Hideyoshi, but this battle supposedly came at a cost, leading to an infection due to the blood and gore. There are also other existing legends that offer a gentler version of Yoshitsugu's illness, mentioning rumors of him seeking blood from living beings in the city as a remedy for his failing health. Most historical records are vague about the exact nature of his illness, but it's widely believed that he may have been sick since the Battle of Shizugatake, which was 2 years earlier, although he couldn't figure it out as the symptoms appeared later. Though the specifics are uncertain, popular belief holds that Yoshitsugu developed leprosy, or maybe even syphilis, as the stories from the Edo period linked it to bodily fluids. Upon falling ill, Otani Yoshitsugu's history has apparently split into two different narratives. Although we don't really know if the first historical account is even authentic, it claims that Yoshitsugu had accompanied Ishida Mitsunari during the Kyushu campaign in 1587, where they successfully led 12,000 troops without any significant issues. With the help of Yoshitsugu, Hideyoshi conquered Kyushu and its leader Shimatsu Yoshihisa submitted, choosing to become a Buddhist monk. As a reward for his efforts, Yoshitsugu received 50,000 koku and was appointed as the Lord of Suruga Castle by Hideyoshi. In his role as local magistrate, he then allocated 10,000 koku among the Toyotomi vassals in his region. Later, in 1590, Yoshitsugu again joined Mitsunari for the Odawara campaign and was also present at Oshi Castle, although specific details of his activities during these two conflicts aren't very well documented. But we do know that Yoshitsugu had participated in Hideyoshi's order to suppress Ki province and defeat Akita Senase. Other than that, Yoshitsugu had also played a huge role in quelling many other riots alongside Ishida Mitsunari. He even took part in Toyotomi Hideyoshi's famous Korean campaigns from 1592 to 1598. Yoshitsugu served in the naval force during this period. Toyotomi Hideyoshi launched these invasions with the goal of conquering the Korean peninsula and China proper. So, numerous naval battles occurred under his command, and Japan swiftly occupied significant portions of the Korean peninsula during the conflict. Legend has it that after returning as a celebrated hero from Korea, Otani Yoshitsugu was warmly welcomed by Hideyoshi at Osaka Castle. During a tea ceremony with Hideyoshi, an embarrassing moment occurred when Yoshitsugu's nasal mucus accidentally fell into his tea bowl. Feeling embarrassed, Yoshitsugu was about to leave when Hideyoshi noticed it and, instead of being repulsed, he asked for the same tea bowl. Hideyoshi specifically expressed that he was thirsty and believed the tea would be especially delicious as it was prepared by his capable vassal. Without hesitation, he drank the tea as if nothing were amiss. This disgusting gesture deeply moved Yoshitsugu, causing him to shed tears for the first time in his adult life. At that moment, he pledged his unwavering loyalty to the Toyotomi family out of gratitude for Hideyoshi's understanding and acceptance. Now, coming to the less widely known but plausible secondary account which describes Yoshitsugu to be completely bedridden due to his illness. According to a historical record believed to be found inside the diary of the head monk of Kinkaku-ji at the time, Yoshitsugu's illness had progressed to a severe stage, confining him to his house for 5 or 6 years. His condition prevented him from engaging in strenuous activities like overseas travel or participating in major war campaigns. Hence, contrary to previous claims, he did not attend any post-Korean campaign festivities such as the Daigo flower viewing due to his weakened state. But there are reports indicating that Yoshitsugu did leave his house only once in 1598 to attend an event that marked Hideyoshi's son, Hideyori's introduction to the court. During this occasion, a frail Hideyoshi kindly provided him with snacks that were more suited for his illness. When Yoshitsugu fell ill with leprosy, he quickly gained the name Whiteface due to the result of his dreadfully pale appearance from succumbing to the disease. Legend suggests that this name may have also stemmed from his habit of covering his face with a white mask, which was a common practice among those afflicted with disease in that era. Otani Yoshitsugu's poetic friendship with Ishida Mitsunari. There are unknown periods of Yoshitsugu's life that create a gap of about 20 to 30 years. Probably because nobody back then thought of documenting the paperwork for the sake of history. But there was one thing which stood out among these uncertainties, and it was his friendship with Ishida Mitsunari. Although their difference in age raises doubts about the romanticized stories of their close bond, legends suggest that they met during their youth while serving under Hideyoshi and eventually began admiring each other's wisdom and character. There is a famous story in the historical text that recounts an incident at Osaka Castle in 1587 during a tea ceremony. Despite his illness, Yoshitsugu participated in the ceremony and left a trace of pus in the tea bowl. Without being aware of this, he followed the tradition and passed the bowl to the next attendee. Even if each guest hesitated, they followed suit out of respect. But when the bowl reached Mitsunari, he consumed the entire bowl of tea without hesitation, praising its exquisite flavor instead of being repulsed by it. As gross as that sounds, back then it was a sign of true friendship amongst the two warlords, solidifying a bond that would last till the very end. Soon, in 1598, Toyotomi Hideyoshi passed away, and two powerful factions emerged to fill the power vacuum left behind by Taiko. The first faction was led by Tokugawa Ieyasu, who held a higher rank, seniority, reputation, and influence, while commanding the loyalty of numerous important lords in eastern Japan. In contrast, Ishida Mitsunari gathered support from loyalists of the Toyotomi clan and lords from western Japan, creating a strong opposition to Tokugawa's authority. Ieyasu's faction became known as the Eastern Army, while Mitsunari's side was dubbed as the Western Army. After Hideyoshi's passing, Otani Yoshitsugu devised a strategy to align himself with Tokugawa Ieyasu, recognizing him as the more potent ally. So, in 1599, Yoshitsugu mobilized his forces and marched alongside the Tokugawa troops towards Tarui Castle. Meanwhile, Mitsunari was at Sawayama Castle and extended an invitation to Yoshitsugu to join his cause. Despite his blindness caused by illness, Yoshitsugu felt a sense of unease upon encountering armed soldiers upon his arrival, which made him silently resent his friend. However, Mitsunari later introduced him to his loyal vassal Shima Sakon, whose perspective eventually shifted Yoshitsugu's perceptions of the Western Army. Although initially inclined to remain allied with Ieyasu and viewing Mitsunari's cause as futile, Yoshitsugu ultimately gave in to Mitsunari's persuasion and defected to the Western Army. While the reasons for his decision remain undisclosed, folklore often romanticizes the idea of Yoshitsugu changing his mind. It is said that despite being aware of the doomed nature of the cause, Yoshitsugu could not sever his bonds of friendship with Mitsunari and therefore integrated all his forces, including his sons, into the Western Army, standing in support of his friend until the end. How did the leper warlord meet his end? On October 20th, 1600, Tokugawa Ieyasu received intelligence indicating that Ishida Mitsunari had positioned his troops defensively at the grounds of Sekigahara. The following morning, as the dawn broke on October 21st, one of Tokugawa's advanced guards stumbled upon Ishida's army amidst the lingering fog from early rain. Initially concealed by the dense mist, neither side was immediately aware of the other's presence. So, after being startled by the unexpected encounter, both factions quickly withdrew, further heightening their vigilance of each other's proximity. As the wind dispersed the fog, the positions of both armies finally came to light, and as the final commands were issued, the iconic Battle of Sekigahara ensued. During the battle, Otani Yoshitsugu led an army of 6,500 men and initially gained an advantage against Toru Takatora's contingent, who were fighting for the Tokugawa cause. According to one source, Yoshitsugu was apparently aware of Kobayakawa Hideaki's impending betrayal and his intent to join Tokugawa Ieyasu's side, but he was simply powerless to stop it. So, Yoshitsugu strategically positioned his army to monitor Kobayakawa's movements, likely to mitigate the potential impact of the anticipated betrayal on his allies. When 15,000 soldiers from Kobayakawa's forces descended from the mountains towards the west, Yoshitsugu's troops positioned themselves as a barrier to their advance. Despite having an invulnerable force of skilled samurai warriors, Yoshitsugu found himself in a precarious position during the initial clash, as his forces were already engaged with Toru Takatora's troops, who were then being reinforced by Kobayakawa's charge. Caught between the relentless assaults of the two warlords, Yoshitsugu's defenses ultimately faltered under these overwhelming numbers. In two famous but questionable accounts of his final moments, Otani Yoshitsugu's actions are depicted to be tragic yet determined. According to the first historical account, Yoshitsugu was too sick to move on his own and directed his subordinates from a palanquin during the battle with Kobayakawa. He relied on his retainer, Yuasa Gosuke, to keep him informed about the battle's progress. Despite the repeated cries of defeat echoing in his camp, Gosuke persisted in his belief that the situation could change. When Gosuke finally conceded that defeat was inevitable, Yoshitsugu partially popped his body out of his vehicle and chopped off his own head. Earlier, Gosuke had promised to conceal Yoshitsugu's head to prevent it from being discovered by the enemy, but sadly, he was killed in battle while attempting to escape from Takatora's army. There's also another text in the same historical account that suggests that Yoshitsugu waited on horseback and ordered his retainers to slice him through the torso after Gosuke sent word of their defeat. Now, the second account rose during the Edo period and was mostly steeped in folklore around Yoshitsugu's final moments. It was apparently Tamehiro who bore the grim news of Kobayakawa's betrayal to Yoshitsugu and expressed his deep regret for not being able to prevent the betrayal. In a gesture of profound loyalty, Tamehiro then composed a poem urging his lord to consider embracing seppuku in honor before the enemies could get to him. Moved by Tamehiro's devotion, Yoshitsugu responded in kind with a verse of unity in the face of fate. Unfortunately, Tamehiro met his demise at the hands of Kobayakawa's forces before he could even receive Yoshitsugu's reply. Preparing for his own end, Yoshitsugu then turned to Gosuke, instructing him to assist him in committing seppuku. After asking his retainer to protect his lifeless head from the enemy, Yoshitsugu then proceeded to slash his guts inside his palanquin. With a cross spear in his belly, Yoshitsugu's head was then chopped off by Gosuke, who then ordered for his lord's head to be buried in secret before meeting his fate in battle against the Eastern Army. So, that's the tale of Japan's famous white-faced samurai. Like I told you in the beginning, while Lord Ohno Harunobu might not have had the same importance in Shogun, Otani Yoshitsugu played a huge role in the council after Toyotomi Hideyoshi's passing. Not even a fatal disease could stop his rise to power or prevent him from forging life-altering friendships. He is revered for his strong sense of ethics as a samurai, something that will always be evident through his tragic end in the Battle of Sekigahara. So, what did you guys think of the Leper Warlord? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section down below, and if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, stay safe out there, and have a marvelous day.